Fair warning, I will use the words Wicked and Wizard of Oz so many times in this movie, and also spoilers for Wicked Part 1 and Part 2. You've been warned. Wicked is probably the best musical you'll ever see in your life. Well, best musical film and musical too, but everyone has their opinion. But no, I just saw Wicked last night, and I gotta say, I haven't seen a musical film that well made, that faithful to the musical itself in a long time. In recent years, we had In the Heights, we had West Side Story, and we had the abysmal Dear Evan Hansen movie. And while they were great, this one takes the cake because I've been a choir student for a long time. Well, I was in school, in middle school and high school, and we started singing a lot of songs from Wicked around, I think, seventh grade or so, and I fell in love with the musical. And then even before that, I was a fan of Wizard of Oz. I always had the VHS tape. I would always play it. I always sing the songs, and then I had a copy from Blockbuster after they were closed, and I kept playing it and playing it and playing it to where it just stopped working. So I've been a fan for a long time, and of the books too. So when they announced they were doing Wicked on film, I was thinking, I don't know about that. I guess I don't want them to take anything out or shorten the story down to do a film runtime. But when they announced they're going to do a part 1 and part 2, I'm like, okay, I see. You're going to actually do good by the story, not cut anything out, and probably expand on the characters. And they did. We saw parts of Elphaba's childhood that weren't in the musical, some from the book, some that were created just for the movie, but they were still good. And I was just amazed at how well they all did their characters. The basic premise of Wicked is that it explores the deep friendship between Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, and the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, before she became the witch. Because it starts at the end of the Wizard of Oz story where Dorothy's already defeated the Wicked Witch of the West, and she's dead now, and people of Munchkin Land and Oz are cheering that she's dead, and how no one mourns the wicked. But then someone in the crowd calls out Glinda for having been friends with her for a long time before that. So she dives into the history of the Wicked Witch of the West, or Elphaba, and show how she wasn't always, deemed wicked. How she was a good friend to Glinda beforehand, and it really just goes deep into not only just Elphaba and Glinda, but also how certain parts of the Oz crew came to be, and the political things going on in Oz between the Wizard of Oz and Madame Morrible. But I'm not gonna get too deep into the story of the film because it's been around for almost 20 years now. If you don't know the story, then I suggest go watch the play on Broadway or go see the movie because it's a really good story, and I feel like I would be taking away a lot if I just told you the entire story because it really is a very deep and emotional story, and I can feel that from all the people involved in this movie. Cynthia Erivo, I hope I'm saying her name right. She did an amazing job with Elphaba, because I always look at Elphaba as Adina Menzel. That is Elphaba to me. But then Cynthia came in and she really just made me believe that she is Elphaba and that she is going through all these struggles and strife in her life. And then Ariana Grande, and again, another thing too, I thought maybe it wouldn't be so good, but I remember watching the Defying Gravity special they had put out in 2018 for the 15th anniversary of Wicked, and she came on stage with all the other cast members from over the years, and she did a really good job singing. I can't remember what song it was she sung on the special, but she did a really good job. So when they announced her as being Glinda, I'm like, okay, she has history with Wicked. She knows what's going on. She can get the job done pretty well. And she also has a very, very good Broadway background and stage. So I thought, okay, she knows what's going on. She knows how to do this role properly. And she did it. Like her singing Popular, she was just spot on. Kristen Chenoweth or Glinda. It's I can't explain how well she did that role, how well she embodies Glinda, and I'm blown away by it. And then everyone else too, from the guy who played Bach, I think his name was Ethan Slater. He played SpongeBob in the original Broadway production of the musical, and he does great as Bach. And then I think his name is Jonathan Bailey playing Fiyero. Dancing Through Life is one of my favorite songs in all of stage musicals, and I love what he did with it, and I love how they transformed it from the musical to the film. Because in the musical, you're singing and dancing out in I think it's the schoolyard of Shiz University, but in the movie, he's doing it in a library. That makes more sense to me because he's talking about getting his fellows. It's his job to get his fellow students out of the study and strife. And what's the best way to do it? Have a big musical number in a library. That is genius to me. And then the whole scene with the Oz Does Ballroom, because in the musical it's not really much to show for, because you're on a stage musical, so you can't really do much of a big ballroom or big club setting. But then in the movie, they transform it into like an underground club, like a Star Wars Cantina kind of thing. They had the little CGI band playing there. I thought that was pretty cool, and it was really, really good. And then seeing again Ariana and Cynthia do the whole awkward dance part when Elphaba comes into the dance room. I was wondering how they're gonna do that because it's very awkward in the stage musical. But then in the movie, they did it very good. They made it silent. That's what I wanted. I didn't want them to have like just music blaring the entire time during this little moment of Elphaba doing her little dance. And they did it very well. I could tell that she was that she was just upset, thinking, oh, I got tricked into being, set up to be embarrassed. But then here comes, Glinda coming in to be a supporting friend now that she knows that Elphaba helped her get into Madame Morrible Sorcery School class. And it was really, really good. And then they do, there's another song they did. That song, I forgot the song that they were doing earlier. It's the one where they're talking to their parents. And again, they transformed it into a song that was done after they become roommates. They use it to show the progression of time at Shiz. Like they show them just, butting heads the entire time, and I loved it. I really loved it. So I realized I didn't touch on any of the characters in the movie, so let me go through them right now. Nesero, spot on for the musical. I do like how she is always dressed in red and white clothing. It is kind of like a good foreshadow to her eventually getting the ruby slippers, like how she has them in the Wizard of Oz movie. But again, in the musical and the film, they are silver slippers. But again, just having the red and white clothing to foreshadow like that. Madame Morrible, just as horrible as she was in the musical, Michelle Yeoh does a fantastic performance as Madame Morrible. I had never heard her sing before, but she did really good. I really could just feel her just the slimy villain in there. And then you had Jeff Goldblum being the Wizard of Oz, and again, it's kind of hard to follow up on playing Oz because he was played perfectly by Frank Morgan back in the 1939 film, and Jeff Goldblum is always a very eccentric character, and he plays a fine line between being eccentric as the Wizard of Oz while also still being a little bit villainy because in the movie he's revealed to be behind the move to make animals not be talking anymore and put in cages. So he had to walk a fine line between villain and being eccentric, like in goofy like the Wizard of Oz, and he did pretty well. And again, I had never heard him sing before, and he did really, really good. Everyone did amazing in this movie. Just let that be known. So then, it's just so much to discuss in this movie that I'm at loss for words because I've seen this musical twice now. One on Broadway, another off Broadway production too, and then I've been hearing the songs for so many years. I sung Dancing Through Life. I've sung No More the Wicked. for years, and I just am blown away by how well they did this. And then just coming from a Wicked's point of view, and then from a Wicked point of view, like they stay true to the design of the costumes too for all the characters. Fiero's costume's a little bit different, but it's cool. It's for the movie interpretation. I'm cool with that. Uh, what else did they do? And that's about it. Now, from a Wizard of Oz point of view, I'm a big fan of the Wizard of Oz. I love that movie so much. Like I said before, I was playing that movie so many times as a kid on VHS, and I'm just I can't say enough good words about that movie. It's older, but it's still more visually stunning than most films today, and that's saying a lot for a film made in the fucking 1930s. But Wicked had a fine line to walk because they can't use everything from the movie because that movie is owned by Warner Brothers Studios. Wicked is made by US Pictures, so they can't use everything from the movie, but they can allude to it in a smart way, and they do, because in the earlier scenes of the movie, well, in the opening scene of the movie, you see it's right after spoilers for part two, but if you haven't seen the musical now, come on. But in the opening scene, after Elphaba has been defeated and dead, you see the gang, Dorothy and the gang, walking back on the Olympic Road to Munchkin Land. And I'm thinking, oh my god, I haven't seen them on screen at all ever in my life. I've only seen them on VHS. Seeing them on screen, I'm just over the fucking moon right now. I'm over the rainbow right now. But then I see all the other little nods to The Wizard of Oz. There's a scene with Elphaba and Nesero when they were kids, and I see Nesero is wearing these striped stockings, these red and white striped stockings. I'm thinking, oh, okay, because in the movie, when Dorothy's house falls onto the Wicked Witch of the East, or Nesero now in Wicked, she's wearing these black and white striped stockings. Okay, so I'm thinking that's pretty cool. They're dancing around the loopholes of copyright with the Wizard of Oz movie to do a little nod to it by making the black and white stockings be red and white, because eventually Nesero will have red slippers or ruby slippers in the Wizard of Oz movie. Then when Glinda's doing the popular song with Elphaba, she's looking at her shoes and saying that, oh, you need some better shoes. And so the first pair of shoes that she gives Elphaba are a pair of ruby slippers or ruby heeled shoes. I'm thinking that's freaking cool. Like, that's amazing seeing them try to use things that they can't really use, but in a smart way. And then when they're in the classroom with Dr. Dillamont, they're doing the poppy flowers in there too. And I remember because people were wondering, like, why are everyone falling asleep after Elphaba does the poppy flower enchantment and makes them all fall asleep. And I'm thinking, have you not seen The Wizard of Oz, or has it been that long? Because in the original movie, when Dorothy and the gang are going through the poppy fields, they fall asleep because Elphaba, or the Wicked Witch of the West, has enchanted those poppies to make them fall asleep. I'm thinking, I'm just loving all of this again. And then another scene when Elphaba and Fiora are trying to get the lion cub out of the university and out to the woods. They get on they take a pair of bikes, and one of the bikes, it has a basket on the back of it. So Elphaba puts the little lion cub in the basket and rides on this old school bike, the same kind of bike that Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz movie, and her Oz counterpart, Miss Gulch, that is the same bike and basket that she put Toto into and rode away in the Wizard of Oz movie in the pre-Oz Kansas scenes as Miss Gulch. I'm thinking, this is fucking cool, because they're again alluding to the Wizard of Oz. And there's another scene too that I liked. It was the part. Oh yeah, another thing too. They added a scene in Wicked where we actually see Madame Morrible teach Elphaba how to control her powers. That wasn't in the original musical, but I liked it. But when they're doing it, Elphaba has her hands out like this towards the coin. But see, the sun is shining in from the window so you see a silhouette of her hands like this. And again, it's another nod to Margaret Hamilton because there's a famous, iconic screen test she did as the witch, where she's like this with her hands in her full witch makeup. And I just love that paying tribute to all of them. And another thing was with silhouettes, because in Wicked musical in the stage musical, silhouettes are a big key factor in how they get away with not having actual flying monkeys or Dorothy on screen because it's a stage musical. So silhouettes are really used well in the musical, and they allude to that by having silhouette portions of the movie. In Oz's grand room, in Oz's grand room in Emerald City, he's doing silhouette imagery while behind the curtain, and it's just playing again to him being the man behind the curtain, and also being an allusion to it being silhouettes like in the musical. And I just found all these creative ways to not only pay homage to Wizard of Oz, not only pay homage to Wicked and to the fans, but just be an overall good, entertaining movie. And another thing too, they actually paid homage to the books too, because I noticed in the library in Shiz University, most of the books are the way they look. I remember Fiero was holding a book called, I think it said Forbidden Love. If you look at the imagery on the book, it's the same style of imagery as the illustrations on the original Oz books they're made by L. Frank Baum and the original illustrator. I think his name was D.W. Dinslow. If you look at the books that are in Wicked, they look like an Oz book from the 1900s. Just the wording looks like an Oz book, and the imagery is indicative of those old illustrations by D.W. Dinslow from the old Wizard of Oz books that came out back then. And I was thinking, like, this is really good. There's just so much love put into this movie that I am just over the moon seeing it. And then the songs were great too. The cast did amazing. My only thing that I will say that I'll criticize is that when Elphaba has jumped out of out of Oz's Oz's throne, whatever it is, what it's called. She jumps off it, trying to defy gravity, and she's falling down because she hasn't gotten the hang of it yet, and she's looking at the glass on the building or whatever it was, and she's seeing an image of herself while falling, and I'm thinking this is kind of cringy, just looking like she's reaching out towards her younger self to, I guess, empower her. I don't know. It's just it was kind of cringy. Like just fly, defy gravity, just do that. But that's my only complaint. It was overall a great movie, and I'm gonna see it probably 2 more times because I'm that big of a Wicked fan. Like, look, hold on, I'm gonna get myself for you to show. I'm gonna show you all my Wicked memorabilia. But yeah, I'm just amazed, and what I hope for Wicked is that when part 2 comes out, because part 2, again, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, well, my bad, seen the musical, because it's been out almost 15 years, so I don't feel bad spoiling this, because in part 2, they cover the Wizard of Oz portions of Wicked, and, Dorothy's in that part of the play. Like, in Act 1, it's, just mostly Glinda and Elphaba. Now, in Act 2, we have the Wizard of Oz portion of the story coming in with Dorothy and her gang, meeting Oz and having a mission to kill the Wicked Witch of the West, and she kidnaps Dorothy to get the slippers back. And I'm wondering, how are they going to dance around Dorothy being in the movie, because in the musical she is spoken but not heard. She's seen in silhouettes but not seen as a full person, and I'm just very curious how they're going to handle that, because Judy Garland made that role. She really did. And again, it is a new movie. It has been decades since that role, but I don't think you should cast. I don't think that you should have her be an actual character, because 1, you can't really live up to Judy Garland, and 2, having her in the movie like that while also dancing around the notion of the original film and its continuity, it's gonna cause problems. I think that they don't want to. That shouldn't be there. But again, maybe I'm just speculating too hard because it's not hard to dance around certain parts of continuity in most movies. But I'm excited, I'm excited to see it. I'm just curious. It's gonna be interesting to see how they do that. But I'm excited nonetheless, and again, a great movie all around. I'm thoroughly impressed by what they did, and I hope that we get more Oz content because they're making a reboot. I believe coming from Kenya Barris. No, a remake in coming from Kenya Barris, I think, and I'm not excited for that movie because it's supposed to be a modern age remake, and I'm thinking, oh God, not again. Stop updating musicals or movies to be in modern times. If it was set in this time and made in this time, make it that time. Oz is not a place in our real world. It is a fantasy. Make this movie a fantasy. This movie right here proved, without a shadow of a doubt, having a fantasy as your film, having a fantasy world in your film will make you money. It's blowing out every other musical made every other musical film that's been made so far. So keep doing actual fantasy movies. Just do that. Make them visually bright and colorful and faithful to a fantasy type of world, and you'll do great. And this movie did everything. It checked all the boxes I needed for a good Wicked movie. And Wicked Part 2, I can't wait. It sucks it's gonna be a year for it, but I understand because, I'd rather have 2 parts than a shortened experience watching Wicked on big screen. I've been SSJ Pharaoh 96. This is my review of Wicked, and look forward to the next one. And be sure to tell me how you feel about the movie down in the comments. Like, subscribe, share, and that's it. I'll see you.